welcome back to the Medical Projects YouTube channel. If you are new around here, my name is Olivia. I am a second year medical student at King's College London, and here at Medical Projects we create videos to help you with your medical school application, and I try to offer my tips and bits and advice from my own application journey into medical school. So many of you will have done your UCAT this summer, and that is an entrance exam that many prospective medical students sit in order to gain admission into medical school. Thankfully, testing season is pretty much over, so congratulations if you've sat the exam. It's a huge achievement no matter what score you got, because it is a very weird exam and it's probably unlike anything you're going to ever sit again. So give yourself a big round of applause for sitting it in the first place. So you will have gotten your scores for your UCAT exam, and now it is time to start thinking about what medical schools you should be applying to. And as I always say in medicine, it's very, very important to apply in a tactful manner, because although, you know, we want to get into certain universities, at the end of the day, you're going to be a doctor no matter what. So I think it's really important to try and tailor your application towards the universities that you're most likely to get an interview from. So last week, our video focused on the places you should be applying to if you got a lower UCAT score than you were hoping for. But this week, I'm going to be offering you 4 more potential universities you should consider applying to if you got an average UCAT score. So in this video, I'm going to discuss what an average UCAT score is and the 4 universities that you should consider applying to. So if you're wondering about this year's interim scores and the deciles that people have fallen into so far, do check out our previous video about the UCAT, because I talked about that in a bit more detail there. But in the interest of not being repetitive, I'm going to skip over that and instead talk about what an average UCAT score is. So when I'm talking about an average UCAT score, we generally mean in the ballpark between 620 to 640. That is an extremely respectable score, so if you do get an average UCAT score, do not be disheartened by this in any way. Obviously, some universities just do set the bar really high and they say that they want a high UCAT cutoff score, but other universities don't, and they're the ones that I'm going to be talking about today. So the first university I'm going to be talking about is Leicester Medical School, and this is actually somewhere I applied and I got an interview and an offer for, so I can talk a little bit more about that. They score you in a weighting that is based off of 50% your UCAT score and 50% your academics. And each of these are worth 32 points apiece, which means that in total, they rank you out of a total of 64 points. Now, in order to get that academic score, which is out of 32 points, they rank you as follows. They rank your top GCSE scores, and if you got an 8 or a 9, which is the equivalent to an A star, you get 4 points. If you get a 7, which is the equivalent to an A, you get 3 points, and if you get a B, which is a 6, you get 1 point. And then as for the UCAT score, this is a little bit more confusing. If you get a score of 3,200, you're given a maximum of 32 points. And if you get 50 below this, you lose half a point each time you dip below. So if you got a score of 3,150, that would give you 31.5 points. It's a little bit confusing to explain it verbally, but if you look on their website, it's a lot clearer. In terms of cutoff scores, for 2019, this was 54.5 out of 64, and Band 4 situational judgment is not considered. So do remember that even if you got a really high UCAT score, if you did get Band 4, it's not worth applying to Leicester Medical School. They also do state that if you're on the borderline, they will read your personal statement and consider that. Things like this are always worth looking out for, because some universities will outright say they do not read your personal statement, they might only use it in the interview, and some universities will say that this will decide who gets an interview. So as you can see, the entry requirements and the way they select you for interview is so different between universities, and this is why I'm making these videos, to try and make you aware that even if you do get a UCAT score you're not happy with, many universities will still consider you. Speaking from personal experience, Leicester Medical School was beautiful, the facilities are fantastic, and the interviewers were all really friendly. So if you're thinking about Leicester Medical School, I definitely go for it. The next university I'm going to be talking about is the University of East Anglia. So interestingly, they state that they don't actually have a UCAT cutoff score, but if the number of people meeting the minimum academic requirements exceeds the number of places they have for interview spots, they will use the UCAT to rank you. The only thing they do say is that scores lower than the 3rd decile, which equates to 2,400 points, will not be considered. So in general, I'd say if you've got a pretty average UCAT score, the University of East Anglia could be a really viable option. The next university I want to talk about is Liverpool University, and their selection process is quite similar to Leicester Medical School. So they state that your top 9 GCSEs will be scored, and a score of 7, 8 or 9 will give you 2 points, and a score score of 6 will give you 1 point. And they say that normally you will need 15 to be considered for an interview, and additionally they say that usually a score of around 605 in the UCAT is competitive. It is worth noting, however, that this score of 605 was the cutoff for 2019, but in 2017 this was a score of 643. So it is just worth noting that every year the UCAT score changes, and it does depend on how the cohort as a whole performs, and this is something you can look into when they release the full test report after testing season has ended. In a similar way to Leicester Medical School, they have said that Band 4 will not be considered, so you do need to be aiming for Band 3 and above in your situational judgment test. When it comes to giving out formal offers after interview, many medical schools will say that this will be based on the interview only at that point, but many medical schools will still consider other things, and Liverpool is one of those because it says that it will consider both your academics and your interview performance when it comes to giving you an offer. And finally, the last university I want to talk about is Hull York University. Again, Hull York University say that your top 8 GCSEs will be scored out of a maximum of 30 points, and your UCAT will be scored out of 40 points, and interestingly, your situational judgment will be scored out of 15 points. What I also like about Hull York is that they've said if you meet certain widening participation criteria, they will award up to a maximum of 15 extra points. So as you can see, based on Hull York's entrance criteria, the UCAT does make up the most points in this section, and we know that in 2017 the average was 663, so this is a little bit higher than the other universities I've spoken about, but it could still be a really decent option. If you get an interview, it says that afterwards your offer will be based purely on your interview score. You will be ranked based on your interview performance, and your average UCAT score will be forgotten about. However, interestingly, at Hull York University, even at interview stage, they will award points for your situational judgment test. So overall, your offer will be based upon your interview performance and your situational judgment performance. Now, the reason that's worth bearing in mind is because if you get to your interview before you've even had an interview, if you've scored Band 1 or Band 2 in situational judgment, technically you'll already have an advantage. So those are the 4 universities I think you should consider applying to if you got a score of around 620 to 640. I hope that gave you a bit more insight into where you should apply, and if you do happen to have received a score that's slightly lower than that this year, do check out our previous video on places you should consider applying to with a lower UCAT score. As usual, if you guys have any further questions, or even if you have any video requests you'd like us to complete, please leave them in the comment section below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel to see more from us. Other than that, congratulations for getting through the UCAT exam, and I wish you the best of luck with your university applications. We're going to be making loads more videos to help you with the interview process in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!